Wow, stories.
Am I the idiot for telling my parents? They failed me after ignoring my trauma. I, female, 28 years old, have a boyfriend. Male, 29 years old. We've only been dating for a little while. We met online, and from what I can tell, we really like each other a lot. We do this thing where we wait until we're not in public to kiss. We would go to the back seat of my car or behind a tree at the park or whatever. Anyway, we were sitting in the back seat of my car, kissing, when I think I felt his tongue poke my lip. I pulled away instantly. I didn't have a problem with kissing before, but suddenly I was thrust back to this really, really dark time in my life. See, my grandfather started kissing me when I was 16 years old. He would do it in secret. We went to his house every Friday, so I'd come to expect that I was going to get a kiss. When we were alone, he would often come around for his dessert. I didn't like it, but he would kiss everyone on the lips, so I didn't say anything. When I was learning how to drive, my grandpa would kiss me in the car. They were long, passionate kisses. The way couples would kiss, and even though he told me not to, I told my parents anyway. I told my mom first, and I tried to play it off as innocently as I could. I said, "Grandpa kisses me weird. He kisses me and holds my face. He calls it his dessert." Mom told Dad, and he helped me get out of driving with him. It wasn't long after that that I started to develop some kind of anxiety. I would swear I could feel his lips on me, and I'd have to wipe my lips off with the back of my hand. I didn't feel clean, and every time I'd see him, it made it worse. I tried to tell my mom once, and she said not to make a big deal about it and to stop acting like that. I did my best. Whenever he was around, I tried to do my best to remain in the presence of others. Then, when he was diagnosed with cancer, while he was sick, he'd try to bring it up again while he was sick. But I'd refuse to kiss him that way, just on his cheek. Then he died, and I let this die with him. I didn't talk about it anymore. I let them have their good memories of him. I let them say what a good man he was. I buried it down, I forgave him. But the thing is, I think that this experience ruined kissing for me. I don't even know how to bring this up to him. I'm kind of scared of him leaving me, but if he does, at least I'd know where he stands. I don't want to ruin my relationship with him, as it feels I ruin everything in my life. But I can't shake this. I've tried and I've tried. I just don't know what to do. My boyfriend deserves the truth. How do I go about this? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm so sorry that a terrible thing was done to you by someone you should have been able to trust. The flashback feeling that you're having is a type of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. It's not something you can just get over on your own. But there are good therapies that can treat this, such as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. It's probably surfacing now because you are starting to be mature enough to handle processing it, and you weren't back when it was happening. It's a good sign for your potential recovery, but you do need to decide to take it seriously and allow yourself the help you deserve. Good luck. Comment 2. You need to see a therapist to work through your anxiety and triggers. You also need to have a conversation with your boyfriend and explain what's going on, because right now he probably thinks it's him. No matter how much you told him it wasn't, he thinks it's him. Have this conversation quickly and in person if you can. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments from my last post. So, a lot has happened since I last wrote. After that incident in the car, I decided to talk to my boyfriend about my past. I was really nervous, but I knew it was something I had to do. We were sitting in my living room and I just blurted it out. I told him everything about my grandfather and how it affected me. He was really understanding and supportive, which was a huge relief. He said he would never do anything to make me uncomfortable, and that we could take things slow. For the next few days, things were going well. We spent time together, but we avoided any physical contact beyond holding hands. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But then, something happened that changed everything. We were at a small gathering with some of his friends. I was feeling pretty good, and I thought I could handle it. But then, one of his friends, who had a bit too much to drink, made a joke about how we were always so proper in public. Without thinking, I laughed it off and said, "Oh, we just save it for the back seat of my car." It was meant to be a joke, but the look on my boyfriend's face told me I had made a huge mistake. He pulled me aside and asked why I would say something like that. I tried to explain that it was just a joke, but he was clearly upset. He said it made him feel like our private moments were just a joke to me. I tried to reassure him, but he was distant for the rest of the night. The next day, he called me and said he needed some space to think. I was devastated. I spent the whole day replaying the conversation in my head, trying to figure out where I went wrong. I realized that my joke had hit a nerve because it made him feel like I wasn't taking our relationship seriously. I felt terrible because that was the last thing I wanted him to think. A few days later, he called me and said he wanted to talk. We met at a coffee shop and he told me that he had been thinking a lot about our relationship. He said he understood that I had a lot of baggage from my past, but he needed to know that I was committed to working through it. He said he was willing to support me, but he needed to see that I was making an effort too. I told him that I was committed and that I wanted to work through my issues. I suggested that we go to couples therapy together. He agreed, and we made an appointment for the following week. In the meantime, I decided to talk to my mom again about what happened with my grandfather. I needed to understand why she had brushed it off when I first told her. When I brought it up, she was defensive at first. She said she didn't want to believe that her father could do something like that. But as we talked more, she started to open up. She admitted that she had always had a complicated relationship with him, and that she had her own issues with him that she had never dealt with. This conversation with my mom was eye-opening. It made me realize that my issues with kissing and intimacy were part of a larger pattern of not dealing with my feelings. I had always tried to bury my emotions and pretend everything was fine, but that wasn't working anymore. When we went to our first therapy session, I was nervous but hopeful. The therapist was really nice and made us feel comfortable. We talked about our relationship and my past. The therapist helped us understand that my issues with kissing were a symptom of deeper emotional wounds that I needed to heal. Over the next few sessions, we worked on building trust and communication. My boyfriend was incredibly supportive, and I started to feel more comfortable opening up to him. We also worked on setting boundaries and finding ways to be intimate that didn't trigger my anxiety. One day, after a particularly good therapy session, we were sitting in the park, and I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. I realized that I was starting to heal, and that my relationship with my boyfriend was stronger because of it. But then, something unexpected happened. My mom called me and said she had found some old letters from my grandfather. She said she hadn't read them yet, but she thought they might help us understand him better. I was hesitant at first, but I agreed to look at them. When I read the letters, I was shocked. They were love letters to a woman who wasn't my grandmother. It turned out that my grandfather had been having an affair for years. This revelation turned my world upside down. It made me question everything I thought I knew about him and my family. I brought the letters to therapy, and we talked about how this new information affected me. The therapist helped me see that my grandfather's actions were a reflection of his own issues, not mine. This realization was a turning point for me. It helped me start to separate my self-worth from his actions. As I continued to work through my feelings, my relationship with my boyfriend grew stronger. We learned to communicate better and support each other. I started to feel more comfortable with physical intimacy, and we found new ways to connect that felt safe for both of us. Looking back, I can see that my mistake at the party was a wake-up call. It forced me to confront my issues and take steps to heal. I'm grateful for my boyfriend's patience and support, and I'm hopeful for our future together.